All right, I'm going to get started. You might be wondering, why is this Girl Scout lady here who's not a scientist? I wouldn't blame you. Actually, I've spoken at enough conferences to know that's really not what you're thinking. You're thinking, where are the free Thin Mints? Like, that's what we want. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm actually not here to talk about Girl Scouts, so rest assured I only have one slide about Girl Scouts today. It's a shame because I could spend a half hour talking about the amazing ways Girl Scouts support STEM. We have more than 200 badges, and over half of those are in STEM. More than 100,000 girls have earned cybersecurity badges this year. Many of you I've talked to have been part of Girl Scouts. Dr. Susan yesterday, Hockfield was telling me how impactful Girl Scouts was in her life. And on and on. But I'm not here to talk about that. We sometimes hear at conferences, now I know we're not going to have time for questions at the end. But if we did, we sometimes say, well, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I have gotten a stupid question before. The stupid question is, oh, how great, Girl Scouts, is that a full-time job? It is. So I'm going to tell you what my job is and why this is important. I serve 120 staff members. We cover 40,000 square miles. We cover 8 properties, which includes 71 buildings. So I know a lot more about septic tanks and siding than I ever thought imaginable. Now, I'm not in academia. My background is in business. I do have my MBA. And this is a very difficult job. The reason I like to show you our jurisdiction here is because some of you are affiliated with Girl Scouts. You might be a troop leader. You might be, I talked to somebody yesterday who was on the board of directors for the local Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts is a federated nonprofit. That means we get a charter from Girl Scouts of the USA for our own jurisdiction. Because we're federated, we have a lot of autonomy. What we do in Iowa, maybe the IT infrastructure, the supply chain management, the human resources practices, are very different than what you see in Minnesota, what you see in Philadelphia, what you see in Nebraska, what you see in DC. It's very different. So if you have a Girl Scout connection, I tell you this to say, if you have a Girl Scout connection and you go to them after today and you say, hey, I heard that lady speak at the conference and I like what you're doing. They're going to look at you and they're going to say, you met that lady from Iowa, didn't you? So it varies wildly across the country. Now, I know my leadership style is I like to have an authentic connection with people. So we're going to spend 60 seconds getting to know me. This is my daughter, Grace. She just turned 14. She's a freshman in high school. She obviously is a Girl Scout. On the far left is the governor of the state of Iowa. Grace recently spoke at an event with 700 people called the Governor's Luncheon. She did such a good job that the president of Drake University tweeted afterwards, one of the best speakers he has ever heard. She started on the varsity volleyball team this year, and she was recently invited to participate in the Miss Iowa competition and, of course, was runner-up in her first pageant. So if nothing else today, I want you to leave knowing I am killing it as a mom. Now, where are my MIT people? Went to MIT, took a course at MIT, graduated from MIT. Where am I? Okay, awesome. I say that like I'm one of you because I have an MIT t-shirt and a signed book from the president emeritus. I didn't go to MIT. I took one class there, though. But the important thing is MIT recently came out with a study in 2017, and it said it was about delinquency and birth order. So I introduce you to child number 2. Turns out I'm not Beyonce. I'm not killing it as a mom. There's this birth order thing. Here's child number 2. Her name's Millie. We have to go to lots of Girl Scout events because I serve 14,000 Girl Scouts. If I couldn't bring my kids, I would never see my kids. I work all the time. So we went to a parade recently. I asked Millie to put on her Girl Scout uniform. Picture for reference. If you don't know what a Girl Scout uniform looks like, it's a badge or a sash, right? Okay. Millie comes out of her room in this. This is an old Girl Scout t-shirt she has cut up and wrapped around her head. And I thought, you know, it is no wonder I do not have a chance with this kid. She is literally Axl Rose. Now, do we have any third-borns in the room? No, you don't want to raise your hand? Okay, well, on behalf of mothers all across the planet, I want to apologize. Here's what we know about third-borns, right? They have a lot looser boundaries. And welcome child number 3. So Dane is 2 years old. I know these pictures look really sad. I now have a leadership or a parenting philosophy. Prepare them for the path, don't prepare the path for them. Now, he's really a very happy little boy. He's 2 years old. He was just fine Tuesday when I left. He was eating Cheez-Its. He's on season 4 of Game of Thrones. He was chilling. It was good. He's good. This is actually really important because now that this is my parenting philosophy, this is also now my leadership philosophy. So what I find, and when he enrolls in one of your universities at age 18, and he's the most self-reliant 18-year-old you're going to be like, Beth was right. She was onto something. So I'm doing something good here. He has to figure things out alone a lot of times on his own and the really hard way. And what I have found is when I empower him to do that, he figures things out pretty quickly. I also give him some space to take risks and to fail. So now I do that with my team at work. We heard Chris Dwan say yesterday that there's a part of your leadership journey where you have to accept that culture is part of the job. I had to accept that on day one. And the reason I had to accept that is because I took on an organization in Iowa that was really struggling. So I've been in the organization now for 4 years. The day I started, we had 19% satisfaction in the workforce. Every KPI, every key performance indicator was in the tank. Membership was down. We had a deficit budget. We were losing 40% of our staff every year to turnover, to attrition, because they didn't want to work there anymore. So culture became priority number one. Here's what I think about leadership and management. It is a transition to service. And that means this is our org chart. I am the bottom person on our org chart. I have one job, lift and empower the team I serve. They have one job, lift and empower their teams, and we all have the ultimate job of lifting and empower girls and volunteers. We take the ego out of it. I don't care who gets the credit. I have to get out of their way and let them take risks and let them make good decisions. Because 120 people that are empowered to make good decisions are going to be much more impactful than anything else I could do, right? Here's my leadership philosophy. The first week I sat down and I started doing one-on-ones with every single employee. And I said, tell me what your frustrations are, right? Tell me what's wrong. How can I fix it? Oh my gosh, I was so naive. That was so short-sighted. Terrible idea. I can't fix their frustrations. If it was that easy to fix, we probably would have fixed it. So instead, what I've learned now is tell me your solutions. When you are frustrated, this is a great life rubric here as well. When you're frustrated with something, you have 3 options. Number 1, bring me your solution. What do you think we should do? Right? Don't bring me your problem. I probably don't have the answer. You probably know the answer better than I do. Bring me the solution. Number 2, can you just get over it? There's a lot of things. Honestly, if we take out assuming what the other person intends, we can just get over things. So number 2, can you get over it? Or number 3, remove yourself from the frustration. If it's not a good fit anymore, don't sit by that person. Don't talk to that person. Don't engage with that person. Or maybe don't work here. If you don't like the way this train is going, you don't have to work here. I help people, and I love them on to their next chapters, even if it's not with Girl Scouts of Iowa. The problem with this rubric is that when my employees have ideas, I have to at least pretend to listen, even when I think they're crazy. So this past fall, 15% of our workforce were expecting babies, which was an unusually high number. We usually have 1 or 2 a year. So we had 8 people all at once that were expecting babies. And one of them came to me, and they were all first-time moms. I'm not saying first-time moms are way more difficult, but, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Don't tweet that. I didn't say it. Okay. One of them came to me. She said, Beth, you're always saying bring you our solutions. I'm really worried about welcoming a baby into the world. I know it's going to be a big job. So I was talking to my midwife. She had an idea. She said, why don't I bring my baby to work? So that's my idea. Can I bring my baby to work? I don't know about you, but have you ever met a human child? No. No, absolutely not. This is what was in my head. Absolutely not. I could not have been more of a hard no on this. No. Because I have 3 kids, right? I go to work to get away from them. They cannot come. So I didn't say that. Because what I've learned, first of all, people really like to be seen, right? They like to be validated. So I didn't say that. I said, interesting. Let me reflect and research that, which is what I always say. And turns out, not only do I want them to feel good, sometimes I'm wrong about what I think, right? So reflecting and researching is actually not a bad idea. So I went home and I started reflecting. Now, reflection meant this. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm not too far removed from this situation. And on day 9, after I had him, we had a big event at work. Now, I don't have the kind of job where I can just check out. It's kind of an important job. I do a lot of things. And the name of the event was Inspiring Women of Iowa. There were 700 people in the audience, and I had a job that day. Get up on the stage, take the mic, and be the keynote. And I had one job, be inspiring. The event was literally called Inspiring Women. I had one job. So I woke up that morning and this was my selfie. Does this look like someone who's inspiring? It was awful. Having babies is so hard, and having babies in your 40s is not easier than having them in your 20s. It did not get easier the further I went. So when I say I reflected on what she was asking, it's really important. I can't take this lens off in life that mothering is hard. I know that, and that's my perspective now. So that was important, right? The other thing you may or may not have noticed is I only have one hand. And the reality is this, that does create some hurdles in my life. This world is meant for people that are batting 1,000 with their limbs. And I'm not. I'm batting about 75, right? I was a 3-time collegiate MVP. So I'm not saying that I can't do things. But I'm telling you, being a very driven, ambitious person, you can imagine how frustrating it is that I cannot use a pepper grinder. It's very hard to open a bottle of wine, and I can't hold a fork and knife at the same time. The whole world is systematically set up for me to never have a great meal, ever. So there are some challenges, right? All of that said, being born with one hand is by far not the hardest thing that I was born with in terms of barriers to my career success. It's having a uterus, plain and simple. Now, don't mistake my words. My 3 kids are the greatest blessing in my life, right? Here, let's look at the ecosystem. Number 1, today, I think, as science stands, women, the people with the uterus, are the ones bearing the children, right? That's not going to change. That part of the ecosystem, not going to change today. So number 2, on the bottom right, you have societal biases, cultural beliefs. What do we think about parenting and women and the workplace and all the things we shoulder, right? It's slowly moving. That's a slow needle to move. So the third thing in the ecosystem we can actually address in this category are workplace benefits. I do not want to see your poster in your workplace that's on the wall that tells me that you care about families. When I see that, I see it in corporations, I see it in higher ed, I see it in nonprofits. We're family friendly, we care about equality. Really, show me your handbook. I want to see your benefits. I want to see that you have undeniable access to the things that help remove barriers. That's what matters. I don't want to see a poster on the wall. And that's the thing we can move. So I was doing all this reflection like, oh man, it is hard, being a mom's hard, I kind of feel what she's saying. Number 2, I started doing some research. There's a lot of compelling research out there, and we've spent the last 2 days talking about research. Some of the things that really caught my eye, the wage gap is an atrocity, we know that. But in reality, the vast majority of the wage gap, it's the maternal wage gap. It's in women are in the childbearing years that we see this huge difference in pay. This is not the gospel according to Beth. This is the American Economic Review saying women that go back to, this is women that go back to work, right? They're not staying home, they're not jumping off the ladder, right? Women who are on the ladder experience this huge difference in pay for all the reasons that you all know. And then caregivers, right? You think about just the roles that we play in life. My husband's mother is in a rehab center. She's been there for 4 months. She's elderly. She broke both femurs at once. When she has an issue, do you know who they call? Lose my number. I am busy. Don't tweet that either. I love her, really. I love her a lot. No, we tend to lean on the female. We tend to lean, not always, I'm not saying always, broad stroke, right? We tend to, the data says, we tend to lean on the women to be the caregivers. Even women that have big jobs and travel all over the country, we're the first person they call. So I reflected and I researched, and then I was like, oh my gosh, we have got to have all the babies. I have done a 180 on this. What would happen? But I can't go to my team and say that. They already think I'm crazy half the time, right? I can't just go in and say, you know what, guys, let's have all the babies. I thought about it. Babies make sense at work. No, they really don't. They really don't. So I went to my team and said, how do we make hard decisions? Here's what we tend to do as organizational leaders. We tend to say, what's the risk? Boom, that takes up 90% of my brain power. And then at the very tippy top is other logical things we should think about, right? That's a ridiculous rubric. Here's what we created. Number 1, does it enhance and support our mission? For us, the mission's really clear. Make tomorrow better for girls and women. Does it support our mission? Yes or no? If yes, we can go on to number 2. Is it a cultural fit? Is it scalable? Is it affordable? Is it something our people would get behind? Yes or no? If yes, then we can go to number 3, processes. At the very tippy top, what we tend to do is get hung up on the process. We say, oh, how would we answer the phones? Where would a diaper go? No, right? That's too hard. Instead of really thinking through, does it support our mission? What if we said yes? How great could it be? One of my favorite movies of all time is Apollo 13. So probably some scientists in here like that movie as well. One thing I know is never put a video clip in a presentation. There is a better chance of bringing astronauts back from outer space in 1970 than a video clip working. So you're getting a still shot of Apollo 13. You're probably familiar with the storyline. Spoiler alert, people go to space, they're struggling to get home, right? One of the big issues they ran into is that the CO2 levels were rising on the spaceship, aircraft, there's probably a technical word, spaceship. They had a square filter and a round hole, and they couldn't make it work. And Gene Kranz from Mission Control, in the movie it was Ed Harris, you know, he does this big speech about how we've never lost anyone. He said, failure is not an option. You know, that's not a very good Ed Harris impersonation, but failure is not an option. So now, when I think about that, when I think about the hard things we face in an organization, here's what I tell my team. What if I said we had to? We take off the table should we or shouldn't we, because we get so stuck on, well, but what if this and what if that? I said, don't. What if I said we had to? Right now I'm in Ed Harris mode. I'm in Gene Kranz mode. What if I said we had to do it? What would the plan need to look like? And then we build the plan. So we did that with infants at work. What kind of things do we actually need to think about? Where would diapers go? How long can babies cry? What would it actually need to look like? And of course, pretty quickly the team gets stuck on, well, yeah, but what if? I'm like, no. I said we had to. What resources do we actually need? And we use this decision-making process now in a lot of difficult decisions. So if you're not familiar with our organization, we welcome the babies, and it went viral. The Today Show came. We rolled it out almost 1 year ago today. We offer 12 weeks of paid parental leave, and when people return, they can bring their babies with them every single day. It's a choice. I choose to drop my kids off at daycare, and I love doing that. I love to work, and I like to be focused just on work. But what I want to do is give the people that work for us, I want to hear their concerns and give them a choice. So of the 8 women that had babies last year, all 8 brought their babies with them. They can come every single day up until age 6 months. There's a 10-page document that outlines all the reasons and things you can do and can't do. Now, sometimes I hear people say, oh yeah, no, you know, I had a boss once, I had a dean once, he let me bring my baby to the office. Here's the difference. We are not letting anyone, it's not a one-off. You can't change the world with one-offs. You have to have things that are documented and clear, and that's what we now have. We have a 10-page document. I have shared it with 100 other organizations. We did a pre-survey. We did a 6-month survey. We're coming up on our 12-month survey. We look at all the data because if I want to change the world, I have to be able to have good data to share with other organizations, right? Of the 100 we've shared it with, at least 8 have since implemented this policy, including a Fortune 500 company and several white-collar banking organizations, not just in Iowa, but all across the country. So it's really, really exciting. I'm going to skip through some of the timeline stuff. Here's some of our babies. Baby number 1's baby Finley. She's on the bottom right. We now have, baby Finley was baby number 1. The day she left us, when she turned six months, we were all just in tears. I mean, I was so short-sighted about this. I thought we were doing something to help our new parents. I had no idea how tremendously impactful it would be for our whole organization, how much everyone else would get behind this. It has been nothing short of amazing. There are rules. I can't go through all of them in the interest of time. How long can they cry? 5 minutes. And then they have to go to the quiet room. It's an ironic name because it's the crying room, right? It's not the quiet room. We used to not have a quiet room, right? We didn't have a lactation room. When I took this job, women could pump in the closet behind our retail shop. Now, what I hear organizations say, because I get it, we have no resources. We are out of space. We are out of money. We are a nonprofit. I hear people say, well, we don't have room for that. And I said, well, what's your square footage? Well, 12,000 square footage. Well, you have room. Let's rephrase that. You are choosing to prioritize something else over a lactation room. Our lactation room today, our quiet room, is the former chief operating officer's office. No. When her role turned over, I chose to prioritize what's more important, executive office or supporting human beings. So it's not that we don't have room, right? We have to prioritize. And so now we have the babies. It's amazing. Some of the other benefits we have since implemented. Year 1 employees start with 24 days of PTO. We also have 15 paid holidays and 4 bonus days, which wrap around some sort of team incentive. I'll do the math for you. Year 1 employees get 47 days off. We also close at noon on Fridays in the summer. We have paid bereavement leave for miscarriage. This is low-hanging fruit. This is so easy. Let's not make people burn their sick time and their vacation balances when they're grieving a traumatic loss. We know for women, 30 to 50% of childbearing women will experience a miscarriage. And then we say, oh, I'm so sorry, now go use your vacation time, right? Men, go use your vacation time on a long weekend. Go fill your tank, go do something great, go get energized and come back inspired. Women, use your vacation time to mourn the loss of your baby. Like, come on, this is low-hanging fruit. This is easy stuff, right? So 5 days paid bereavement for miscarriage. I know we're coming to the end here. I want to talk about paid caregiver leave. When I spoke at the National Academy in March, we each had a chance to speak, and then we had a panel of 4 of us. And during that panel, we had questions from the audience, and somebody from the audience said, what are you doing to support other seasons of life? What about those of us that are caregivers? What about those of us with ill parents? What are you doing? And I literally did that thing where you look at the rest of the panel like, you go. Because we weren't doing anything. Like, hard question, like, you take the mic, right? So then I started reflecting, like, what are we doing? Because that's really difficult. So now, July 1st, we started paid caregiver leave. In addition to your other 47 days, anyone on our staff can take 4 weeks paid off for the acute physical or mental care of a loved one, period. Here's what I found out. When you see people, whether they had a miscarriage, whether they lost a loved one, whether they're taking care of a spouse or child, we have these wonderful, bright chapters in our lives that we get to celebrate together. But when someone is going through one of those dark chapters, and most of us have been there and to some degree, when your employer says, hey, I've got your back, I see you, you take the time you need, and when you come back, we're here for you. That is how you move the needle in organizations. That is how you get engagement and inspiration and productivity and all of those things. And it is nothing short of incredible. We have some other amazing things like disruption grants, which are just awesome, and I just don't have time to talk about them. So I'm going to scoot along and say, what does this all mean? What's the outcome? The last question on our annual employee survey, we get 100% participation on the survey. The last question is, what 3 words describe our culture? There's no drop down, there's no prompts. Every single word that is mentioned is on this word cloud. I don't edit any, I don't delete any. Because at the end of the day, your culture, quite simply, is what your people say it is. It's not what I say it is. It's not the poster I hang on the wall of the aspirational poster of what it is. Quite simply, it is what our people say it is. Every year we print it off. Every year we distribute it to every employee because I don't want to hide from the truth. Let's name the truth. Let's hang it up. And then we can work on if there's things to fix and redeem. Now, I'm pretty excited to say the #1 word that's used is supportive, followed by innovative, forward-thinking, goal-oriented, focused, flexible, friendly, inspiring, passionate, positive, collaborative. Those are the biggest words. Those are the ones that were said more than 20 times. That is what you want in your organization, right? So we think about, what about productivity? I get that question all the time. It doesn't matter who I'm talking about. How can you possibly get anything done? People are on 12 weeks of paid parental leave. People are on caregiver leave. People are taking 47 days off. You got babies everywhere. Productivity is not the right question. What about engagement? How engaged are the people? Because productivity, today, the organizations that are succeeding are the ones that have great collaboration. They're strategizing. They're innovating. Now, maybe if you're on a manufacturing line, mainly productivity is the one thing you want to measure. I am inspired to do my best for the organization. Here are the results. 100% anonymous survey from the past 3 years. 97% of our workforce is inspired to do their best every day. That is the kind of workforce you want. 94% say they have work-life balance. I think I'm the person that said no on that one. What does it mean for the numbers? September 30th was the end of our fiscal year. Here are some of the numbers that we've experienced. These are September 30th. These are about 8 weeks old. Our biggest fundraising event, up 330%. Our biggest outdoor event, more than 2,000 girls, up 24%. Number of girls that we serve in our outreach programs, up 40%. Overall philanthropic dollars, up 15%. Looks like it got cut off. People say kids don't want to go to camp anymore. Camp registration, up 46%. Girl renewal, this is an important number because this is the number of customers that say, I'm having a good experience, I want to come back. Up 9%. Incredible metrics. Here's a recent fundraising event we did. I picked this one because it's the most recent and we have 5 years of clean data. The number of donors at this event for Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa was up 74%. Well, there's no other metric we have that's up 74%. We didn't increase our staff size 74%. I don't pay people 74% more. So what's happened? What's changing? Everyone, I speak all over the country now, and people will say, I spoke at Walmart. They're a consumer packaged goods company. They want to say, how is your cookie sale up 155%? Like, talk to us about what you experienced. How is your camp up 46%? How is this? And I can't share the fix, right? There's no blueprint I can say in an hour, in 30 minutes. It is the people. Foundationally support the human beings and empower them to make great choices. Gallup says if you increase engagement, you can expect a 19% increase in revenue. In the last 4 years, of course, our engagement's off the charts. Gross revenue is up 21%. Our employee satisfaction is now at 89%, from 19 to 89 in 4 years. Our employee retention is up to 94%. We used to lose 40% of the workforce. We're losing 6% of the workforce. I got a problem now. Nobody ever leaves. I have to kick people out. I can't get anyone to quit, right? It's such a great workplace. What happens is that we raise the bar. When we get to hire people, when we get to select our workforce, the bar gets higher and higher. When I was making my presentation, I'm going to end with this. I showed you the ecosystem earlier. And I have 2 software systems that I pay for. They're not free. I pay for them to make presentations. And when I was trying to find an icon for a female searching business, here are the icons that came up for business, right? Whoops. Okay. So I looked for female. Here are the ones that came up. So if you're a man, you can give presentations and have charts and a briefcase. If you're a woman, you can have babies and play outside, it looks like, or have a cane, right? Here's the second software. I've got another one. I search business icons right here. I pay for these. These aren't free. I pay for these. Finally found 2 women, a nurse and a lady who has no intestines. So I put a picture of myself up there so you could see, like, proportionately, because I have like an average healthy BMI, right? In fact, ironically, I'm missing, part of my small intestine has been removed, and I still don't look like her. That's what it would have to look like, right? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Moral of the story is this: being female is not the part of the ecosystem that is broken. I don't want to use an icon that doesn't look like me. Tough luck, because none of them are missing a hand. So here's what I have to do. I have to use a picture of myself. If you believe in equality, you believe. If you believe that having children is a barrier to success in the workplace, you have got to get some skin in the game. It is not easy for us to have 12 weeks of paid parental leave. We were not fully staffed one day this whole year because of paid parental leaves, not one day. It's my job to make sure we hit our metrics. I'm the one that reports to the board of directors to say yes or no, we made it or we didn't make it. But is it right or is it easy? If I think it's a barrier to equality, I have to do the right thing. I can't kind of believe in that. We can't charge women more for short-term disability and say, look, it's fair, you can just pay a little bit more. We can't expect women to use their entire vacation balances, but yet come back inspired and engaged and do just as good as your peers, right? Paid parental leave is something I'm so passionate about. And when I spoke, this was at an HR conference, and someone was like, oh, are you wearing that? Like, your shoulders are showing. Yeah, guess what? Because being female is not part of the problem. I am not going to apologize that I have feminine attributes. Some days I wear a suit, and some days I don't. And there is not an inverse relationship in my femininity and my capability. And I will not apologize for it. And until we get behind that and recognize that in the ecosystem, we've got a lot of work to do. So thank you so much today for having me.